Hello, good morning. I'm Christopher Charles Killingsworth, and I was in that band.
Hi, Tugboat. I'm Grady.
Howdy.
Do you self-identify as Tugboat?
I don't. I self-identify as Chris, knowing that it's going to be Tugboat no matter what.
Do you get a lot of that? Introduce yourself. I probably have done this to you. You like, hi, I'm Chris. I'm like, he's Tugboat.
Yeah,
you're fine.
That's usually how it goes.
Just so you'll know who we're talking about when we say his name. Yeah, I gotcha. I feel like I rarely introduce myself as Grady Don, but then it ends up being that, you know? And that's sort of how it happened was my uncle is Grady. And so his kids call me Grady Don to differentiate.
Yeah.
And like kind of that side of the family. And I took some bandmates to like a gathering at their house to swim. And everyone was like, from then on, it was like, oh, Grady Don, you know, like it took off. It's like,
I like Grady Don.
All right. Well, I like Tugboat.
Yeah. I think it's how I kind of differentiate between, like who I know IRL and like who I know from the internet. Because like people from the internet will be like, well, hi, Christopher. And then people I actually know will be like, what's up, boat? Yeah.
Where'd the name come from?
So before I was in that band, I was in another band. The Orange County band with Heath Tollison. And, that was a sister band with Thrift Store Cowboys. The two singers had a house together. And one day, and we would both share it for rehearsals and hang out and partying and whatnot. And after rehearsal one day, we were having beers on the front porch and BSing, and the singer was making up stage names for people. Or not the singer, the guitar player. And he was like, well, you're going to be Hank Fury and you're going to be Buck Naked and I'll be Possum Jenkins and you're Tugboat. And I guess either Amanda Shires was around that day or just heard this in passing. And she thought it was, I guess, the funniest thing she'd ever heard. And so she's the one that made it stick. Like when I would introduce myself to people after that, she was the one to be like, oh, that's Tugboat. And so she really drove it to stick. And then and this, you know, it's almost 20 years, or probably was 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And so it's just always been Tugboat after that.
Did you meet up with like most of that crowd in Lubbock?
Yeah, after I did a stint in Denton after high school, and then ended up going back to Lubbock and then kind of getting involved in that scene and a little bit of a 2-year college, and then ended up back playing music, and then it just never stopped.
Are you from West Texas?
I was born in Hobbs, New Mexico, but yeah, raised in Lubbock.
Okay. Cool, man. I love Lubbock.
It's a weird little town.
I've never lived there, so that's, you know, different. But like I really enjoy my time there.
It's great, and there's like a lot of it. What makes it great is the people, and it's interesting because there was like a big effort. You know how everyone had the like "Keep Austin Weird" shirts and everything. There was a big push at one point for everyone to say like "Keep Lubbock Normal." And the irony is that like if you've been there and spent time other places, you realize like Lubbock is not normal at all. Like Lubbock is very unique. And so it's funny, that perspective of folks that that maybe haven't traveled a whole lot of other places, and they think this is normal, and it's just like this is a weird little town. It's very unique.
And like I think just like Denton, the college just lends its own brand of like strangeness, like the way that the unique small town or, you know, big town in both cases blends with the like college atmosphere, can like just spins off in kind of cool and bizarre ways. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Any kind of like higher education is going to infuse an area with culture and, you know, culture that's unique to that school, and then blend with the locals in new and unexpected ways.
Did you come here to go to school?
I did. I went to UNT for I guess it was a year and a half.
Jazz studies?
Jazz studies.
Holy crap, man.
Yeah. It was pretty gnarly. And
oh man.
I learned a lot, and there's some things I had to unlearn over the years, and then it lent itself to like a lot of perspective changes. I don't know. I'm having so much skin in this game for so long, you know, it's hard to look at that time because it was ended up not being a great experience, you know, but I've learned so much from it and grown so much from it. It just sort of like took a long time to get there.
Yeah. I think that's pretty common. I know some people who came and did it and like hit it head on and were like prepared for it, but mostly it's your experience and my own experience that is like I wanted this to work. I thought it was going to be a certain way. I got here, it was not that way. It kicked my ass and I ran off, you know.
And it's funny because like I guess it's maybe just like all of that whole freshman year, and I don't know if this was, you know, other people's experience as well, but it's just like every instructor in every class was like, if you want to do this, why are you here? They're like, why are you here if you want to play music? They're like, you should drop out and just go get a gig if you really want to do this. And so it was just, and I don't know if that was a way of like weeding people out or like who really wants to be here for higher education and who just wants to play. And I don't know, but I was fed that constantly. And I remember being in Dan Hurley's solfege class at like 8 a.m. and just almost every single day, he's just like, why are y'all here? If you really want to play music, they're like, why are you here? Just drop out and go get a gig. If you want to play. And they were like, you're never going to make any money playing jazz. You have to really want to do this specifically. But if you want to play music, why are you here? And it was just a weird perspective as, you know, a little tenderfooted 18-year-old to be like, why are they saying this? Like, I don't understand. And, you know, it's being a little older, I guess it's like puts it in perspective of like, maybe they're weeding people out or maybe, you know, that's just jazz in general. Is it like you have to dedicate your life to this craft to play it well?
Yeah. This is something we like hit on before I started rolling, you know, was like doing something kind of for the love of it.
Yeah.
And expecting that, or just kind of hoping that other good things will come from that. And I follow that pretty closely.
It seems to be a good method.
I mean, it works for me.
Yeah.
And like, there's if someone was like asking for advice, say like at a college or something, because it seems like a lot of people would go to college and be like, I want to network and then hopefully find some, you know, a path into a career. And I could see being there going, this might not be a path into a career necessarily.
Yeah.
This could be a path into a long road of, you know, who knows what.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can remember, it was kind of like one of my last few straight gigs was like working at a music store. And I loved all the guys there who taught lessons because they're like the age we are now, or, you know, maybe a little bit younger. They were like, you know, mid 30s to, you know, late 40s, early 50s. And the levels of just sort of jadedness that they had was like very entertaining and also very insightful to me. You know, one guy was like, I'm done gigging. I've been, you know, he's like, I have family. It was like, I can't remember what he got out of it to do. It was like, it might have been to like sell insurance or something terrible. You know, it was just like
something involving math.
Yeah. He was just like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And then these other guys who just, you know, had a little bit more of like a Zen-like existence, who guys I know who are still playing at a really high level, into their 60s, you know, and who are just like, yeah, man, this is it. I'm, you know, just stay on this path.
Well, you know, think about that for like higher education, like college in general, for most people, like you go for, you know, a set amount of years, typically 4, and with the whole concept of there being a finality and an end result, and that end result is job or monetization of your knowledge. Mm-hmm. But like when it comes to art, it's hard to teach a young person that like, and maybe that's what they were trying to say with the like drop out and get a gig, is that like, if you want to do this, like you have to love the process of it. Mm-hmm. You have to fall in love with the process. That, you know, I've said a lot of times, like I'm sure that there were, you know, incredible jazz musicians on their deathbed reaching for their horn being like, but I have this one more thing I got to work out, you know, because it's just, that's the concept, is it like, there's no finality. Like you're constantly learning and constantly growing, and you have to love that process. And then everything else is an end result of loving that process. And it's about, how do you teach that to an 18-year-old that like, it's not like you go to the school for 4 years and it's like, I've learned all jazz. Now I go work and people give me money. You know, it's just not really like that with art, as it is with like maybe like an accounting degree or something like that, where like you can learn all the skills you need to enter the workplace, mm-hmm. but that's not necessarily the case.
Did you play all through high school and stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I kind of got a young start and was very, very fortunate to get great instruction early on.
In Lubbock?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
So my dad played guitar. And so even as a young kid, like it was one of those things where it was, there was always music around. My folks were really into music and had good taste in music, thank God. And I remember at like about second grade, like having the aha of sitting there watching my dad play guitar, like he was some sort of wizard. And I was like, it's just regular ass people can just do this.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be, you know, touched by a wizard to be able to play music. You can just do it. And so, and I picked around on his guitar and it didn't really take, and they got me a guitar and I tried to play, and I didn't, you know, learn some chord shapes. So it didn't really take. And then in fifth grade, I was like, oh, I want to play the violin. And so they got me Suzuki lessons and did the whole route of that. And same thing, I did it for about a year and it just didn't really take. And then all of a sudden I had the aha in like at the end of that, they're like, it's drums, that's it. And my folks are like, well, you know, we've done 2 instruments. So how about we wait a year and then you get in 7th grade band and then we'll see what happens. And like, if you really want to stick with this, then we'll pursue it. But you kind of have to show us that you want to stick with this before we buy the loudest, most horrible instrument on earth to put in our house. And then in 7th grade, so in 6th grade, I built a drum kit in the garage out of like buckets and gas pipe and got some drumsticks and trash can lids, and then did that for a year. Mm-hmm. And I did it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I think that's when the folks were like, oh, like maybe he really wants to do this since he's like building his own instruments out of garbage.
Yeah.
And then in 7th grade, got in band and then started doing, you know, very well. And then bought a drum set that Christmas from a kid who's gone on to have an incredible career. He like still plays to this day. He lives in New York. And I bought a kit from him, and as I was putting it in my mom's car, he was like, well, hey, now that you have a drum set, do you want to be in our band? We need a drummer. And I was like, hell yes, I want to do that. And he's like, well, cool, here's a list of songs because we have a gig on Saturday. And I was like, oh. So I had to like just figure it out, like how to play the drums very quickly. And then went and played that gig, and it went pretty well. It was like a birthday party for the guitar player, and then booked another birthday party at that gig, and then started playing, you know, little parties and stuff, and then started playing coffee shops. And then within a year, we had a residency at Stubbs, that band. And we had like cut a demo, and the bass player's dad was like shopping record deals and stuff. And we were like 13, 14. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of got a young start into it. And then, you know, by the time I was in late junior high, like we were gigging 3 nights a week.
Wow.
And I just sort of never stopped. Like I had the aha in algebra, 8th grade algebra. And I was not doing well. And I was kind of stressed out about it. And then it just dawned on me that like, this doesn't matter for me. Like, I just need to jump through the hoops to get through this because I'm going to play drums forever. Mm-hmm. And it just clicked. And I was like, okay, that's my career path. And then I just never did anything else. You know, I kind of lucked into it.
Yeah.
or stepped on a landmine, one or the other.
Did you stick with school band through that?
I did, yeah. Did all through junior high, and then started taking private instruction pretty much immediately. Like got a private teacher and was doing band, and started doing really well in both. And then did it, all through high school, and concert band, marching band, and drumline. I was captain of the drumline my senior year, and all the things. And yeah, just like fell in love with it so much that like every aspect of music, like it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to specialize on drum set. That was my first love, but like every other aspect was just fascinating to me. I just loved it.
Cool. And then, so like to come here to Denton, UNT, like what was the, like it sounds like everything you sort of set yourself up to be, sort of like dovetail perfectly into this like instruction that happens here. You've got gigging experience, learning tunes quickly, all, and then also still reading, still playing. I'm sure there's like a jazz band component.
Oh yeah. And I, did submitted for all-state jazz in high school, and I think I got like somewhere in the 30s, like 33 or 34 or something in the state. And I remember I was kind of disappointed, but even at the time I was like, yeah, it's not bad. Out of all the drummers in Texas that submitted to this, like the 30s is pretty good. And then that year, I learned after the fact, the guy that got it, that like got like number one and was first chair for like the all-state jazz band was McKenzie.
Oh, of course.
And so then after the fact, I was like, oh, then I don't have any reason to be bummed out about that because it's McKenzie.
Yeah.
Like he's such a monster. And
Mackenzie Smith from Mid-Lake.
Yeah. And, and it turns out that like his reading chops were, great. Like he just had a good concept for that young. And
yeah, it seems, I mean, I can't remember if, like I think he was doing, jazz gigs as often as we were doing rock gigs in high school, and stuff like that, and had a serious leg up for that kind of thing.
Well, and then my freshman year, I think he was in the 1 o'clock. So it was just like, oh, obviously like this guy is on. Yeah. And that was like the biggest shock, I guess, is I'd come, big fish, small pond thing in Lubbock, that I'd won a ton of awards and I did really well and all this like kudos and praise. And I was like, I really know what I'm doing. And I've got a good concept for this. And then you come to a place like UNT and there's like people from all over the country that you haven't been exposed to. And all of a sudden it's shocking of just like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Like, this is what good is. And so it was, I guess I wasn't prepared for that like, nobody was honest with me, or maybe they didn't know that knew. Here's where your concept is compared to other people your age.
I think that happens to athletes too, is like every kid who arrives on a college campus has been the best player on every team they've ever been on. And then you get to, I mean, at some point you're going to get, I mean, I guess at some point you're the best ever or whatever, and you're Ted Williams and it doesn't matter or whatever. But basically on your way up though, you're going to hit some point where you look around and go, whoa, where the fuck am I? I'm not the best person, on this stage or in this auditorium or on this field right now. And everyone else around me is having the same realization.
Right. And that's where I think that was where my biggest issues later on and to this day kind of with, and not UNT in general, but like entities like higher education and jazz and stuff, where like there should be some mentorship to kind of coach younger kids through that, to be like, hey, like now is the time for humility. And if you really want to grow, like then grow. But they're a little bit more old school where it's sort of like swim or die, which is it's maybe there's some hard ass 18-year-olds that are, like they've been to war and then go to jazz school and, they know what to expect. But I was kind of a late bloomer, and I was real sensitive. And didn't really understand that. They're like, oh, like I guess I can never do this. And then when your instructors tell you like you should do something else with your life, like you're not cut out for this, then you're like, oh, I guess I'll just quit everything. And so it's like it was hard. It was like really hard for a sensitive 18-year-old to not know. And my parents didn't know how to coach me through that. And my other instructors back in Lubbock, I think, were kind of mad that I didn't go to Tech. Because I was already studying at Tech in high school. Like I was studying with the head of jazz at Tech, like all through high school. And that's why I was like, oh, I'm going to do fine in college. And then, you get to a place like UNT and it's like, oh, this is different.
So did you go back?
Not to Tech. I went to South Plains.
Oh yeah.
Because I had left my last lesson with a notorious drum set instructor. And he told me, he's like, do something else with your life. Like you should go drop out of this and do something else with your life.
Here?
Yeah. And he and
Soph?
Yeah.
Of course. And it sounds so very Ed Soph.
And now I as an older person, I guess I have the perspective of like what he's expecting is for a kid to either say, F you, old man, I'll show you, and show up and go even harder, or roll over and die. But like both of those things are acceptable. They're like, get out of the way so I can focus on the kids that want to be here, or prove me wrong. Yeah. But I was a late bloomer and I didn't have anyone in my corner to be like, this is what he's doing. Just go back and work harder. Yeah. And so I was like, I guess I don't play drums. What do I do? And so I went to South Plains and got in their studio, like their recording program. And I did that for, should have been 2 years. I think I did it for 3, but yeah. And then ended up dropping out of that too, because I got a gig and started touring, and then it just sort of never stopped.
Is that Thrift Store?
It was Orange County Band, but I met Daniel immediately and I played with Thrift Store. I played one gig with Thrift Store before I actually joined the band, a couple years before I joined the band.
So you weren't there for the formation of that?
No, it had already been around for a little bit, and they're
Thrift Store Cowboys.
Thrift Store Cowboys, yeah. And their drummer at the time was Cody Banks. I don't know if you're familiar with Cody.
I definitely know the name.
Plays he's a great drummer. Plays ton of Texas groups, and I think he lives somewhere in the hill country-ish these days. But his dad was an instructor at South Plains, and Thrift Store had its first road gig. And Cody was like 17 or something, like 16 or 17. And Kerry Banks, his dad, was like, well, all you guys are my students. Like, I'm not going to let my underage kid go on the road with you because I know you. Y'all are, maniacs. And so they needed a drummer for this road gig. And I just kind of I was out smoking out in front of the music building as like you do. And Fluid was there. I'd never met him, and he was complaining about needing a drummer and a person. I'd never told anybody that I played drums when I went to South Plains because I was told I couldn't do this. So I was like, well, I'm not going to let anybody know so I can focus on this other aspect of my career. Because I was like, well, if I can't play drums, I still love music. What am I going to do? And
Soph said I can't do it.
Soph said I can't do it, so I guess I can't. And there was a person there that knew me from back in the day. That was just like, well, Kris plays drums. We'd get him. And then me and Daniel meet and then go over, have some rehearsals, and I went and played that gig. And my concept coming straight out of jazz school for playing in a country band was not great. And I think I kind of confused them with my approach. And it's like, I'd never played a train groove before. And like, didn't really have a great concept for country music in general. And so it was just the one gig. And then a couple years later, after I'd kind of played in a country band for a while, had a better concept, they needed a drummer, ended up jumping on. But man, that first gig was amazing. It was up in Sherman. It was at Austin College. And Jeff Dennis, who was a big driving force in that band early on, got them a gig at their little local festival. And it was like Deep Blue Something and Blue October. And Blue October was on the way up and Deep Blue Something was kind of on the way down. And we played early in the day and then got, as drunk as 19-year-olds get playing a college festival, and had a really good time. A lot of mayhem. I believe that us and Blue October were involved in like eating all of Deep Blue Something's finger sandwiches in the green room. There was some sort of licking of cheeses or eating of tiny sandwiches or something that happened that was at the time big fun.
Yeah. I like finger sandwiches.
I mean, yeah, who doesn't? The crudité is on my rider to this day.
Well, I definitely became aware of you via those guys, Thrift Store, and like, because the band I was playing with in college, we would get gigs at Granada.
Yeah.
And the backstage manager at the time, Michael Thomas, he had a kid, and he was like, "Oh, our favorite is Thrift Store Cowboys."
And Granada was really good to us.
And they were in love with Pearl, and like they were, I just loved, Michael was just, and the whole scene there, really. And I'm not trying to say it's still not that way or whatever, but it was like when it started, it really had all the things that you see on the shirts with serenity and love yourself above the stage, and like this sort of elevation of the local scene and the, low to mid tier things that were going on was incredible. And we got tapped to play some amazing shows and do really cool things.
Yeah.
And then like would get invited, just be like, "Oh, hey man, you got to come here in a couple weeks and see this show, and like I'll get you in." Like there was it seemed like conscious effort of like, these are young people who are on their way up, and we need to, like harness that, and like invite them here to just hang out and be on the scene as well as play and give them good opportunities. And I think you guys were a part of it as well.
Oh man, absolutely. And how nurturing to the community, was and is that venue. And that was like, at the time, I think it's like probably like one of the biggest venues that we had ever played, and like to be included in that scene, especially coming from West Texas. And then there's all these really cool big bands in Dallas and DFW in general. And then to just even be considered to want to be, well, we'll come and hang out with us, was kind of like getting invited to the cool kids table.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh wow. And making, legitimate friends and connections, and not just the networking aspect, but like really making relationships with people in DFW is kind of what ultimately led us to come back here. It's just like, it was just in a lot of ways really felt like home, and I knew where everything was already and like how to get around. And it's like, man, if we're going to move back to a bigger market, like why not one where we've already got a lot of friends? And even 20 years after the fact, of just like a lot of folks still here that are doing rad things and good people. And so it was nice to be welcomed back into this community with open arms. It's really cool.
I think, you had a little, went out to Tennessee for a little while.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I was playing with Amanda Shires at the time, and I was still based in Lubbock. And she hit me up at one point, and she had a bass player, but they needed a drummer to round out a trio. And she was like, "Hey, do you still like touring?" I was like, "Well, yeah." And she's like, "Well, come and do a run with me, and we'll see what happens." And did a run, and it went well. And then like went and did another run, and that went well. And I think I did that for like a year or so. And then it got to the point where she was like, "Well, I'd like you to be in this band. But I can't afford to keep paying your gas and travel from Texas. Like, would you think about relocating to Tennessee?" And at the time, like me and my girlfriend, Cammie, were looking to get out of Lubbock anyway. We kind of like hit a glass ceiling there, and it was just like, yeah, it's time for a change. And sure, life hands you an opportunity to adventure. And, I was like, well, I'm going to take it. And I was really fortunate and, glad. And for, my partner wanted to come with me, and she's like, yeah, let's adventure. Let's go to Tennessee. And went out there, and then we were there for 8 years.
Wow. And then Daniel went out there as well?
He did, yeah. He had met a young lady, Jess, at a festival out there, and then immediately after that festival, she came to visit in Lubbock, and they hit it off real hard. And then she moved to Lubbock and then lived there for a year or two. And then she had an opportunity back in Knoxville and was like, hey, you should come with me. And that predated us moving out there by a couple of years. And so when we had the opportunity to move to Tennessee, we were like, well, we can't afford Nashville. And Daniel and Jess were like, Knoxville. Like, I promise you, move to Knoxville. Like, they need drummers. It's a cool town. It's cheaper than Nashville. It's access to the mountains, and we're getting on with this company. Like, we'll get you jobs, get you on your feet, and it's kind of the way it went down. And so we're like, well, close enough to Nashville where I can go in and work, and then like live cheaper. Mm-hmm. And it's desperately beautiful out there. I mean, it's insanely beautiful in East Tennessee. That whole part of like the Appalachian Mountains, just. Bonkers. Yeah.
And both Daniel and Amanda are from Thrift Store, to clarify. Mm-hmm. But y'all, are you and Daniel just still making music together out there?
We were, and mainly we were just gigging. We weren't like writing anything new. It just kind of gigged as a duo for a while, and then had some opportunities to do full band stuff. So we started tapping players from the area to come in and round out performance roles. And then that band kind of played every now and again. I wouldn't say Thrift Store played a lot, or we didn't really like travel outside of Knoxville, but got to do some festivals and cooler stuff like that. And so that, as I was traveling with Amanda and then traveling with other folks, like, it was always a cool thing to kind of come back to. And I know a big deal for Daniel, because he was working outside of the music industry, but then, that never goes away. Like, you still want to get out and perform and still want to play. And we had a great time, even just playing duo gigs, man, just playing patios and stuff, like, just like a heck of a lot of fun. And so the band always just sort of like simmered, like it wasn't really, we weren't writing stuff. It wasn't producing new material, but it also just didn't completely die. It was just sort of like, just simmering.
Yeah. In the meantime, the Amanda Shires thing, is she kind of getting like swept up in the Jason Isbell thing? And is it?
They had already married at that point, and she was traveling quite a bit. And I when we moved out there, I played with her for like I think the first 6 months of that first year, and then she hit a different record cycle, and I think wanted to make some kind of a change, as she ended up getting like a whole different band. Mm-hmm. But we were already out there. And so it was kind of the like, well, what now? Mm-hmm. And so like, it was, we didn't know anybody. And so it was a great opportunity. At the time it was horrifying, but in hindsight, like, it led to a lot of growth. Mm-hmm. And we had to grow and level up. And I had to kind of start over from scratch and meet people and build a whole career again in a place where like nobody knew me. And so like that, I'm glad that happened, because I grew a lot, and it, growth is not fun.
Right.
When you're in a season of growth, it sucks really bad. But then afterwards, when you come out of it, you're like, oh, I leveled up, and like, I molted, and now I have a new shell, or whatever,
What's, man, that's really interesting to me, because I've thought at a couple different times in my life that I might leave this, nurturing biosphere that is Denton and branch out, or, like at one point when I was like, I really fell in love with New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, how cool would it be to be a musician in this town and like get to, do gigs at all different hours of the day.
Yeah.
And do all different kinds of music. Could be a top 40 band on a Friday night, or it might be a afternoon or a brunch gig, playing, Dixieland or something, just like whatever.
Yeah.
And so like, what did you do to like try to like network and find new people to play with?
I mean, at the time we were just, kind of trying to survive. So we're just like scraping by, and both of us had got on with, Sugarlands Distilling Company, which is I think it's like, there's some aspect of these dates that are coming up that like they're helping out with, or in some capacity, I think it's tying in with that liquor brand, and Dan and Jess are probably doing some stuff out on the road for them, and then they're maybe kind of like offsetting some costs of travel, which is incredible. And they gave us jobs, and so like that allowed us to get on our feet and survive. And then it was just going out and trying to be on the scene and meeting people and just like trying to find work and stuff. And it wasn't until I built enough of a little network, and then I ended up getting let go from Sugarlands. And it was, in hindsight, same thing. It's just like, it was horrifying at the time, but then ended up being a great opportunity because I immediately went back to playing full time and ended up getting a church gig, and then ended up having this other gig, and then that led to other gigs. And then next thing you know, you just like, your calendar's full and you're surviving off your instrument, which it never seems to happen if you plan on it. Like, well, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to play music full time. Like, you're never going to get to a point of being comfortable enough to do that. But it's like, if somebody pushes you off the high dive and then you just fall in, it's just like, well, you better swim.
Yeah.
Always ends up like working out better, even though like the falling sucks.
Yeah. That's the terrifying part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd always thought, just as like in trying to like, manifest it in my mind, would be like, oh, I'll just find other bands and drummers I like, go see them, go try to find myself in some kind of jam situation, and perhaps, if I felt comfortable enough with another drummer, go, hey man, there any gigs that come your way that you just think are total shit and you don't want to do? Give them to me.
Yeah.
I'll take them.
Any opportunity.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was not doing a very good job of networking because I think people could smell that I was like, wanted work. And later on in life, I realized like, oh, what's actually better and more important is just like creating relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, that's even to young players or anybody moving to a new scene, like, and everyone kind of says this, but it's true. It's like, be on the scene and make friends with people. Go support them, go to their gigs and be on the scene, and just like become part of the community and nurture that community, and then good things will happen as a result of it.
Yeah.
Rather than showing up and being like, how can you monetarily help me? It's kind of like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? How can I help the scene? And then if people hear you play and you're kicking ass, then it's just like the rest will end up taking care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and like, so yeah, if somebody calls you last minute and you show up on a gig and do a good job, someone else on that may not be the gig that you want, but someone else on that gig is going to go, oh man, that guy really came through.
Yeah.
In a pinch.
Yeah. He showed up and he had a great attitude and he was prepared and played his ass off and was fun to be around. And yeah, that's the stuff that people remember. It's not even necessarily, you're playing. It's just like your attitude. And that took me a long time to get to that place of understanding that, but that was also like, I also spent 20 years being an alcoholic. And so like, I wasn't able to see that perspective when I was out partying and networking, what I thought was networking, but really, I was just out going to Nashville and hanging with buddies and having a good time, but I wasn't really doing the kind of work that makes you stick out in people's mind.
Yeah.
As being like a responsible person that they can trust to like call for a gig. It's just like, well, that guy's a lot of fun.
I mean, that can get you into some good situations as well. It's just like, I mean, that's
part of being on the scene, It's just like, how do you draw that line of like having a good time and being on the scene, and then also like, showing up and being prepared. And I don't know. That's all the nebulous stuff of.
Yeah, well, those things don't necessarily have to work against each other. They often do.
In my case, they did. Yeah, it was. It's hard to remember that stuff of just being nurturing and caring for people and making relationships when you're like, I need X amount of dollars right now, or they're going to turn off the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to kind of zen your way through that because it's you're scared and you're clawing for survival, but it's like trying to remember that stuff too at the same time. Boy, that's hard when you're 24.
Yeah. The electric bill or the electric company, they don't take Zen checks.
No.
It's too bad too.
You show up, send them a tape of just like, but I can do book reports.
Here's a tape of me at the bar last night trying to get a gig. How do we feel about this?
Yeah. Can you let that electric bill slide? Like, check out my Purdy shuffle. Like, how about we let that slide for a week or two?
Well, so yeah, and then what made you decide to come home?
And it finally got to a point where, you know, I'd kind of same thing. We just kind of like hit a glass ceiling in Knoxville, and I was playing with some other folks out here in Texas and having to do some fly dates. I was subbing for Gabriel Pearson, and he tried to kind of get us to move back. Like we talked all over COVID and you know, talked quite a bit, and he was like, man, like there's a lot of opportunities here. Like you should move back to Texas. Like you will do well. And I was like, yeah, you know, I'd love to, but we can't really afford it. And Cam wanted to come back because she wanted her folks moved back to Texas. And so then that was her main goal. It was like, well, I want to go home so I can be closer to my folks. And I knew I needed to be closer to my dad too. And so then we were like, well, okay, how do we do this? Like, how do we afford to move home? And so then there was, you know, how do we solve this puzzle? And she got on with Starbucks and ended up leveling up in a way where she could afford, or the company paid for us to move to Texas. And then we sold our house and did well on the sale. And so it kind of like afforded us to come here and find a place. And but even still, the process of that was like one of the hardest years of my life. Because she was already out here working and I was doing fly dates with Kyle Nix and the 38s. And then in between fly dates, going home and packing things up and getting ready to move and taking care of the house by myself. And I ended up moving the whole house, you know, by myself, like in 3 trips. And
yeah,
it wasn't just so difficult, but it was also like, hey, this new opportunity, this is going to be fun. And like, oh, there's living in a place where there's tacos again. Like that'll be great. Closer to family and stuff. And so like we had the end game in mind. And so like the hardships of like getting here were, it's like, well, we see why we're doing it. So it was easier to, I don't know.
I just remembered I have your 38s book.
Oh, do you really?
Thanks for that, by the way.
Yeah, no worries. That was a fun gig, man. And there was like right there, kind of almost towards the end of that band's existence. Gabe and I were doing that double drumming thing with them. And it was, man, I wish there was video of that. It was so fun.
Yeah.
And it just blew people's minds, man. Like nobody had really, the way we were doing it was a little different. And man, sound guys and everybody, it was just like, they looked at us like like a dog that got showed a card trick. It's just like, everybody didn't really realize what they were seeing. They were just like, what are these guys doing? I don't understand. But it was fun.
Man, that's awesome. I'm going to get to do a double drums gig.
Is that like with the Country Dead or?
The Dead thing.
Oh man, that's so fun.
It's awesome.
It is so fun.
And it's really funny because I really, like neither of us, there's like a era of Grateful Dead where it's just one drummer.
Yeah.
And we both like really like that. We both prefer one drummer Dead.
Yeah.
And so, but they want two drum set players in it. And it's like, so it's fun to kind of be like, assign roles based on that and go like, okay, well, look, you do, this one doesn't really. So there's certain tunes where it's like, this really needs 2 parts. And then there's other ones where it's like, let's just both try to kind of streamline it and sound like one really sick drummer.
Yeah.
With fucking 4 arms and 4 legs, So the way Gabe and I were doing it was like our bass drums were spread out almost like a double kit, and we were sitting sort of hip to hip, and we were sharing toms down the middle. And so like he would reach over and play toms with his left hand and I would play them with my right hand. And so we would do some stuff unison and then some stuff where like I would start a fill and then he would finish the fill. And that was really fun. And so it was really cool for the misdirection of like, hey, these guys are doing this unison thing and you're watching it and all of a sudden they're doing something else and then back to unison. There was this chaos to it that, have you ever seen Slim Cessna's Auto Club? So the way how they have 2 singers Yeah.
And there you see both of them and then one disappears and then he's behind you. And so there's this constant misdirection. It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Where like the audience was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Which is fun. Is that a like Mickey Hart era for the Grateful Dead with two drummers?
Yeah.
Who was the single drummer?
Bill Kreutzmann.
Okay, that's right.
And it starts with him, and then Mickey joins in 68, leaves in 71, comes back in 76.
Okay.
So like for me, the sweet spot, like Bill's the drummer, Mickey Hart's the percussionist.
Yeah.
And like, even though they're both playing drum kits,
he's the percussionist.
Yeah. And there's I recently saw a thing, because we're like hitting the 50-year cycle of the 76 tour where where Mickey rejoins. And there's a photo of a rehearsal where they have two drum kits, like Bill's in the center, like where a normal drum set player would be. Mickey is on stage left with a kit, and then on stage right, like on the drum riser, is this like standing percussion setup, but it never made it to the touring thing. Like, I guess they did it for rehearsals, and he was probably like, I'm chilling, you know?
Yeah.
And like, then they eventually, like, because they did I think it starts with Apocalypse Now, but because they did some soundtrack for that, they built the big cage that you see of anything post like 1980. You see these like giant drums hanging from this big rack behind them.
Yeah.
And it kind of becomes like, it's like Mickey's stuff that is sort of for both of them. And so it's like the percussion setup kind of surrounds them. It's really interesting once you like, I play with it. There's a keyboard player in the band who's like, what's the deal? It's like, it looks like it starts with like in the 60s, 2 like 4 or 5 piece kits. And then just gradually the drums start just taking over the stage. And I'm like, that's Mickey Hart, man. He's like, never found a thing he didn't enjoy, that he didn't think was, essential. It's like, oh no, I like hitting that. We're going to move that over here. That's now a permanent part of the setup.
So who's building y'all the rack?
Oh, Jesus. I have no, unless we can get a crew.
Yeah, those concepts come with hands, right?
Yeah. Dude, it's fun. I mean, it's just, and like I'm sure it's the same with you and Gabe, is like the Kenny and I, the other drummer, it's like, we just feel the groove the same way.
Yeah.
And there's just all this trust, and there's like, a lot of times we'll hit the same fill at the same time, or like
just instinctively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, and like, or, we do a lot of like doing something and then kind of like looking at each other and laughing, and like, and it's fun to prepare in that way of like knowing, okay, he's got this covered. I'm going to try and bring some things, like some elements that bring some different sounds, a little bit of some different texture to it. I enjoy it. It's really fun, and it's made me want to do more, like playing with other drummers. It's like we don't get to play a lot together,
Yeah, in every opportunity, I've done it a little bit in the past, but it's like, it's never been a thing where like I've done the double drumming thing and been like, well, that was a drag and I don't ever want to do that again. Like, it's always fun. Like, always ends up being fun. And so I'm stoked. I'll keep an eye out for dates. Like, I want to come see that, because that sounds really enjoyable. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, man. And and you and I think via Daniel and then the 38s, like we kind of found ourselves, being interchanged into projects as well. Daniel Markham, I'm speaking of.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So like, I'm certain there's a ton of overlap there in like, it's been fun going now to see Daniel and watching Zach, because for the first little bit of like learning some of Daniel's back catalog, I'm trying to, copy what Zach was doing.
Yeah.
And then now I go see him play and hear him play my parts or your parts, same deal with like learning the stuff off the, Just Like a Dream, and being like, trying to crawl inside your head.
Oh, same, man.
Bit.
Of going back and doing like a lot of the because you did a couple of records with him.
Yeah, 2 or 3 or
maybe even more. Yeah.
I think 4. But
all that, man, Pretty Bitchin' is still like one of my favorite records.
Dude, that's like, a great band record.
Yeah.
Like that was a like good solid rehearsal with the band working on that stuff.
Did y'all go in and cut it live?
For the most part. I think at least Daniel's guitar, the bass and drums.
Yeah, the meat and potatoes of the rhythm stuff.
And that kind of had more to do with the setup of the where we recorded.
Yeah. Where was that?
It was at JC's house.
Oh, cool.
And so it was like we could have, I think also Ryan had like, Daniel's always got like specific lead guitar ideas. Mm-hmm. And so I think Ryan was, was more like, well, I have some stuff, but maybe it was less like, let's not commit all to it until y'all get guitar, bass and drums down, and then we'll go into lead guitar world.
Yeah.
And start deciding which things actually fit. But I do love that record.
Man, yeah. Everything from that era is really, really good. And I at least doing one record with Daniel, it seems like that's how he likes to do it. Like he likes to go in and get that like live band feel right off the bat. And it's a fun way to do it, and it yields great results, but it's also like economical to go in and just like bang. I think that record we did out in Athens, I think we cut a whole record in like 2 days for like just the bed tracks. Yeah. It happens so fast, but we had done a lot of pre-pro and like got our parts dialed in, and we just went in and just like bam, 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 just knocked it out so fast. And that's the same thing. Like it was cool to do a big rock record through a Neve console anyway. Like I was stoked to do that, but it was like also like it's always fun to be in Athens, but it was fun, to come in with so much pre-production. Like I just knew exactly what I was going to play. So I just went in and played it.
Yeah. And then it's just I like that too. You get into just like, we'll know when we got the one all together.
Yeah, you can just sort of feel it. You're like, yeah, that was it.
Yeah. You can do less, like you have to do less listening back. I hate, like I dislike, just listening, like in the studio, playback. Like it is not, I just don't enjoy it. Like I enjoy playing and I enjoy making records, but I don't like listening to things in that setting and like looking at someone in the eyes like you and I are now and going like, is this it? Are you, like it's not an enjoyable thing to sit and listen to music that way.
Yeah. We're going to put you under a microscope and analyze every little thing. And I don't
like doing it to myself.
I think that's why I like having that space in the garage, just so I can do that when no one else is around. Just being like, is this good? Is this not good? Okay, tweak, get better. And that's everybody says, they're like, that's a good way to grow in general, is just like record yourself. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just a phone, or like back in the day, at UNT, they said a tape machine. Just record yourself with a tape machine and listen to it. Mm-hmm. And like then the proof is in the pudding, because there's so much feel and emotion that happens with our instruments that you can be like, man, that was incredible. And then you listen back and be like, what happened? Like that does not sound like how my brain felt it sounded.
Yeah.
So yeah, that process is always like,
yeah, I don't care for it. And I like making a record in 2 days. That's where I'm at. I've always liked working fast.
Yeah.
And going, let's let someone behind the glass that we trust, we can sit in here and go, that felt good. And then they can just tell us if it sounded good.
It's why it's great to have a producer, like somebody wearing that hat. Cause it's just like, you can remove yourself from those decisions. Just like, I'm going to play and try and make it feel good, and then let them decide. Cause you may come in and be like that here, go to playback and be like, that was terrible. I hate that. I hate what I did. And they're like, no, like that's incredible. Or and vice versa, so it's cool to have another party making those decisions.
Yeah.
Have you ever sung on a record?
Uh-huh.
I have not. And so the idea of like singing and then having to immediately go listen to your voice at playback sounds like a bad time.
It is. Yeah, it's lame.
1 star, do not recommend.
Yeah. There's a cool thing to it to have someone listen to your voice and comment about things especially for me, because I'm not a singer per se, but to have someone then try to kind of direct you there's between drummers, like we have a bit of a shorthand of how we can talk to each other, but to have then a producer or someone start trying to produce you as a singer is like, that's a trip. Is you're like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And yeah, I'm just gonna like, oh, you're hitting this a little flat, or try enunciating this a little bit, or I think a lot. I sing a lot live, and so the big adjustment there is like, hey, you don't have to shout. Like you can actually just sing in the studio, whereas like live, I'm always so conscious of like, I need to get this through this microphone, out those speakers, into some people's heads.
Well, yeah, and then you have this loud instrument coming back at you, and so that's probably very natural. I bet, it'd be interesting to be like, did Levon, like, was he a shouter? Had he had trained himself just to like sing quietly, like while he's coming down on the snare? Because
I'm certain it feels to me like when you're watching him, like it feels like it's all this like one thing, like his like approach is a little loose and a little funky, and like kind of got like a bit of an aggressive but laid back. I don't know how you but I think his singing is the same way.
It's definitely handy to be able to be the one that's pocketing both things together. Of like, oh, I can leave space for myself here, and I know where, but like that's another level of independence, of being able to sing in a way where you can pocket it correctly on top of what you're playing under yourself. It's like, it's a fifth coordination.
Yeah. And you got like, I've seen you do gigs, a lot of gigs singing harmony. Like, how's that playing the beat and then also trying to like listen to a singer's phrasing?
I've only done it with Daniel, and it works well because like I know the way he enunciates things, and like I know his delivery, and so I can match to him really well.
Not Daniel Markham, by the way.
No, I tried singing with harmony with Daniel Markham, and I did get some parts did make sense, but in general, like I've only been successful at singing harmony with Fluid.
Yeah.
Or it's the easiest, Yeah. I don't have to necessarily think about it. But yeah, there was a lot of tunes where, especially like on a tune where like, so like the song Lubbock Lights, after Amanda had gone on to play, have a solo career, and she had moved away, and we didn't have that aspect of the band anymore. Some of those melodic parts I wanted to still exist. And so I was like, oh man, I'll just play them on a glockenspiel. And then you're having to learn glockenspiel parts while you're playing brushes on a tune, and then having to sing her parts. And so like that, I kind of had to do a little bit of bedroom time with that one just to get the coordination together. Cause the first time I tried to do it, I was like, oh, this is a lofty goal. This is going to take some work before I try and deploy it on people. And it got easier, but yeah, at first it was like, patting your head and rubbing your tummy while you're ice skating.
While also playing glockenspiel and trying to sing.
Yeah. It was a lot going on at the same time.
Yeah. It's a funny thing. I think people I don't know. People give you give me a lot of credit for that. And I'm like, I'm already doing 4 things. A 5th thing is not that hard. Like once you're adding, because the whole thing for me was I can get my hands going and I can add in, I kind of taught myself to play the drums. So like, I can get my hands going, adding in the right foot on the bass drum was a challenge for the first week.
Yeah.
But then you figure that out. You're like, okay. And then you're like, okay, what's this other foot going to do? And like, creating some exercises for that. And when I would teach lessons, those are the things I would work on, was like, immediately we need to get all 4 of these things going.
Yeah.
And then we can, at least going together and in some sort of like, symmetry. From there, we can try to mix it up, and we can so adding a fifth thing in, there's all this other stuff about singing that you don't think about as a drummer, but I recently taken another, some vocal coaching, and there was a thing where he's like, yeah, it sounds good. It's not beautiful. And I was like, oh, I never thought of that. Okay, cool. Try to make it beautiful,
Yeah, every time I've heard you with the raise right, man, it always sounds great, man. It sounds like you're able to like put the drum parts on autopilot and focus on singing in a way where it's like doesn't necessarily sound like a drummer that is beholden to all these coordinations that he's doing and then singing you really feel like that is a separate coordination.
Yeah,
you're doing that well.
Well, thanks.
Yeah,
I enjoy it. It's fun. It's a really, and the whole like vibe of that band is like it works really well if you can like slot into the groove with everybody, and that's really there was a big thing there of like learning that about that music that I didn't really expect, which was like I'd come from playing rock and roll or playing jam music or whatever, which was like a lot of it is like react to what's going on, and a lot of what we do is like do not react no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
And in kind of if you're doing it right, if everyone's playing their part right, it's easier to sing, and it's easier, I would imagine, like leave space for the lead players, and everything just sort of flows a little better if everybody is like streamlining it just a little bit.
Yeah. If everyone's staying in their lane. And
yeah.
That's always been hard for me as a side person in country music, is like to not react to things I hear because I want to, and that's very instinctual to be like, oh, somebody did a cool thing and I'm gonna have a little answer back. And it's like sometimes people love that in my playing, and then sometimes it's not their favorite. And I have found myself let go from more than one gig for being reactionary in that way. And that's fine. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, this is kind of how I do it, and I don't want to be like stubborn about it, but it is difficult for me to just like boil it down and have the what's the word I'm looking for, like the restraint that it takes.
Restraint is the word
to do that right. Because you have to have the restraint filters turned on.
Do you have the I think about this because there's a thing there's just things that like the way our lead players play, I'm like, you always, on the last chorus of this song, you always do this thing. And like, there's a thing that in a certain, it's Big City by Merle Haggard, and it's, kind of a laid back shuffle. And then at the end, the guitar player always plays this thing in the shuffle where it's every off note on the shuffle. And so
like a flat tire thing.
Yeah. It's like, and so like for a little while I would be like, I think I can still groove, and I'm going to hit those with the snare. And I did it. I was like, I want to try this during a sound check, and I did it. And then like, I feel like once I did it, I was like, I'm not going to do it during the show. It doesn't sound cool,
Yeah.
Like I wanted to hear it that way. Or like I wanted to know that I could. And he was like, oh, cool. Like, I don't think he realized what he was doing or that it was so syncopated like that.
Yeah.
And to hear me do it, I think was probably like, oh, weird. And then was like, okay, cool. Move on.
Man, I was just reading a thing. It was like an excerpt from a Peter Erskine discussion where he was talking about getting on with Weather Report and like playing with Joe Zawinul, and one of Joe's things was like, nah, man, don't Mickey Mouse the soloist. Don't Mickey Mouse the soloist. And he was like, okay, I don't know what that means. But what he meant was like Mickey Mouse is like imitating what is happening musically on the screen. So he's like, don't imitate us, support us.
Yeah.
So, and that's a hard thing, even in like anything improvisational, to remember, like, oh, like you, like somebody's playing a cool figure and you want to bite on it, but then you've changed their whole figure because you're not playing what is supportive.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah, like a lot of times, like that figure wouldn't sound the same if you weren't providing square information behind it.
Exactly. So again, it's like, oh, cool. I can do that. I felt like it did not. And the whole thing, and something I like, something I'm critical about my own playing is like, I won't do a fill. I will not step away from the groove at the expense of the groove.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So like I will only do something if I feel like, because I played in groups before where I was the only person keeping time. And so when if I would stop to do a longer fill, I would feel the time like collapse. I'd be like, okay, I cannot do that. And now I play in some projects where I feel everybody else keeping time and I feel more freedom to do things, but at the same, I'm still not going to do anything that works against the work that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And so that's a part of it, is being like, yes, that is a cool figure. You've got that covered. I'm just going to sit here and like, I like what you said was like, keep it in a box here, you know, square, and what you're doing sounds really cool on top of it.
Because then you're actually like creating the polyrhythm for the audience, and then it makes sense rather than just like everybody playing dotted eighth notes or whatever.
Yeah. No need for it. Someone's already doing that.
That was a lesson from Ed that sticks around to this day. That the first time I heard him say it was in a summer camp when I was still in high school. I came up to UNT and to do some summer jazz workshops. And his whole concept, he said, rhythm is king. And he's like, rhythm is king no matter what, like whether you're keeping time or you're playing a fill or whatever, or you're like, and fills, you know, it's not your opportunity to go bonkers. Like you need to be like conveying information and time information while you're filling as well. Like everything is timekeeping basically. Mm-hmm. He's like, people should still be able to dance to your fills, mm-hmm. you know? And that was, I think, a big aha at the time. Like, oh yeah, it's not just, it's not my time to shine. Like you need to be conveying information like, hey, a phrase is ending, or like, we're all turning left. We're all going to do a thing, bus driver, hat on, turn signal on, rather than just like notes.
Yeah, absolutely. How's it been since you've been back here?
Man, it's been really cool. Just like a ton of opportunities, a big, massive. It's funny at first, it was very overwhelming and there was so many people and it's like, oh, all these people I want to meet and all this stuff I want to do. And then like, it was, like I said, it was overwhelming. And now like that I'm into it for a couple of years, it's kind of like, oh man, it's not as big of a community as you would think. I mean, yes, there are a ton of players, there's a ton of people, but it is way more interconnected than I would have originally thought.
Yeah, I think I felt that when you were coming in, because I knew we talked a bit when you were, talking about moving and planning on it and everything. And
I'd planned for a handful of years, even before we did it. And I would reach out to people and be like, I think we're going to move. And then we finally did. And yeah, you're definitely one of the people I reached out to of like any kind of help at all, but, and everybody's really welcoming and like very helpful, mm-hmm. And so I appreciate that, thank you so much for like, even if it's just like introducing me to a person after a gig at the bar, just, hey, this is so-and-so. It's like, oh, like cool, a new person to meet, new friend.
Yeah. And I think once you get introduced around a little bit, then someone like the thing you said back at South Plains was like, oh, Kris can play drums, Yeah. You just want to be in that thought of we need somebody, we have a need. And then when someone's mind is sort of, scrambling for that of like, who do we know? Oh, and it's kind of, it can be nice being the new guy too. Like, there's history and baggage attached.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I'm guilty of this, man. Sometimes I don't call people because it's like, I know they'll do a good job and I'm like, I don't want I don't want to do all that again. You know, like,
Yeah.
I've played 200 gigs with that person and I'm good. You know, it's not any knock on that person as an individual. It's not any knock on their playing. It's like, if I'm playing with somebody who I don't know exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
That sounds like more fun, even if it's, you know, a little rougher ride to get it down. You know?
Absolutely.
But
I think another good thing was I was able to hit a bigger market like this with a little bit of a different concept in that I'm not drinking anymore. And so like that's the baggage that I didn't carry with me. Is that in the past, I think I had a little bit of a reputation for being a wild card of like, well, you don't know which boat is going to show up. You know, it might be the fun boat that plays his ass off and then has a few drinks afterwards, or it might be the boat that shows up 10 beers deep, you know? And so that I didn't realize what a hindrance that was all through my 20s. And so to be able to show up and be like, yes, I'm always going to be on time and I'm always going to be prepared and I'm going to stay prepared throughout the whole show. And I'm going to play as well at the beginning as at the end because, you know, I've just got it professionally together a little bit more these days. And so it's made this transition easier.
Yeah. How long have you been sober?
It's going to be 6 years in November. So like five and change, 5.5 or so.
Awesome. Congrats, man.
Thanks.
I just hit 5.
Hell yeah.
In July or earlier this month.
Yeah. Man, that's rad.
A week ago.
Hell yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, man. I'm not too like, I don't know. It took me a while even to remember what the date was. I didn't like hold it as but now, you know, I was like, oh, was this, you know, or there was a trip and and it wasn't like a catastrophic or a big night or anything. It was just it was like the night I was like, that's enough. I'm good.
Yeah.
Or you know, so I got a little, and you know, it's kind of just like anything else. It's kind of cool to like mark the time and be like, oh, it's been 5 years. Great.
Yeah. I had to mark the time because it was difficult for me at first. Like now it's gotten easier, but yeah, man, the first 6 months were hard, and I had to go day to day because I think I really, you know, definitely had a problem with it. I was using that substance in an unhealthy way emotionally, and then had to learn about that, you know, through that process.
I guess it was a hard process, but for whatever reason, I just didn't like that day wasn't a big like, you know, tent pole or something. It was maybe a year later that I was like, or anyway, I knew about when it was like, but actually nailing down the day. But I know now sort of what my like triggers are. And I know sometimes when stress is like building up and compounding that I'm like, man, you know what sounds good right now? And you know, and that's good. Like that's good to know that, you know, to go like, this is a time when this is perfectly exactly what I would reach for. And had I thought of it like that at the time, I might have had a little bit of a healthier interaction with it. But the thing was, I was reaching for it every day. And then on the days when I needed it, I was reaching for 2 or 3 times as much as I needed. And, you know, like spinning out of control and doing, you know, whatever, like making shit harder on myself than it needed to be.
Yeah. I had to learn where that like existential itch was coming from in the first place to be aware of like same thing of like, now I'm aware, if it's a stressful day, when that idea pops up of like the little devil on your shoulder, like you should get an ice cold beer. Like now I know why that happens and like but I had to learn why that happens and learn where it comes from to be able to like identify that and it's not, and be like, oh yeah, it's my brain trying to trick me, you know, as opposed to just before it was like, now there's an itch I can't scratch, you know?
Yeah.
Or I didn't know why. It was just in my subconscious, you know, the same way like people get in their car and they pull out a cigarette and they light it before they even realize they're smoking a cigarette, because it's just your subconscious is like, this is when we do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of go into autopilot about it. It's like, man, stressful day, crack. And you don't even think, and you're like, oh, I'm having a beer. You know, like I had to be conscious of it.
Do you have a coping mechanism now, or is it just identifying it? And
I think, that's the coping mechanism. It's just like I know where it's coming from, and like, I'm able to identify, like, if I have that feeling of like, oh man, like I really would like to drink. And it's few and far between these days, but like, there's still like days where like it'll pop up, or I'll be in a situation, you know, like at a festival or something, where like, man, I would love to drink 20 Coors Lights today. But like, knowing where it's coming from in the back of my brain, I guess, you know, like just knowing where it's coming from is enough to be like, okay, that's what's happening. It's kind of like peering behind the curtain at like the DOS prompt of like the autonomic system or whatever, you know, being able to see like, oh, this is some still existing code in the system that's trying to be like, put this in, do this thing. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm aware that it's, you know, I'm aware the operating system is trying to do a thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't always feel like having a partner made me realize how like maybe a little out of touch I can be about my feelings sometimes. So I can be like, you know, my wife can be like, you having a bad day? I'm like, no, I just, you know, this person's pissing me off and this is kind of stressing me out and I kind of wish this had gone better. Shit, I am having a bad day.
Yeah.
You know, like and there's I find myself just trying to be a little bit more aware of that generally, you know, and I think that helps, because I think back then I would have just gone into autopilot and not purposefully or anything, but just because I wasn't being aware, just overdo it and set out to, you know, punish myself and everybody else I came into contact with, I guess.
I feel unbelievably grateful for Cam, for my partner, and her patience with me of being like, I see that there's a good guy in there somewhere. We just got to, you know, break off some other rough edges and, you know, square the stone a little bit better. And, it's, you know, and I guess I'm glad that I was aware enough to like listen to her. Mm-hmm. I've been like, oh yeah, I guess maybe I am being a toot today.
Yeah. What's bringing you joy? What's good with gigs right now? And we talked about, you have your home studio going.
Yeah, that's been a big focus of just like getting that space up and running. And then now, collaborating with some friends, and, I just finished a tune for Josh Smith. I don't know if you've met Josh. He lives here in town. He was a good buddy in Knoxville and had a great band in Knoxville. And when I put together a little space there like that, he was the first dude that came over and recorded with me. And we like did a couple tunes where like I played drums and then kind of produced everything and then brought his players in or got some other folks and kind of like organized the personnel and then kind of produced it and engineered it. And Markham was a big help at the time as well, like teaching me how to mix things and like pointing me in the direction of like, hey, here's how some of this stuff works. Here's some good resources for learning how to mix. And some of that stuff I did with him ended up doing well and actually like charting on the AMAs, which is insane. Like the first thing I ever did in a recording situation, like actually charted, and it was really validating. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll stick with it, I guess. And then he moved out to Texas around the same time we did, and now he finds himself in Denton, which is rad. Because I knew right off the bat, I was like, oh, buddy, you're gonna really like this town, and there's a lot of players and there's a lot of opportunities, and yeah, they both him and his partner Carrie, they just like, absolutely love it. And so, yeah, I'm still kind of doing some stuff with him. And just finished a tune that Scarlett Deering played fiddle on, and I'm excited to I think it's ready to send to him and, drop on the world, try and maybe see if it gets some airplay. And I'm tentatively excited.
Cool.
They're oh, it actually sounds good, which is, I've never had that experience where you do something and you don't just hate the thing you did.
Yeah.
To get something to a point of oh, I think that actually sounds okay.
Yeah. There's a big, for me anyway. Yeah. Just all you hear is the flaws.
Right.
I hate and so yeah, it is nice to do something and go, all right, this sounds good.
And to know when to put the paintbrush down.
Oh my God.
Oh, this is finished. This is done. Rather than tweak on it for a million years. Although we have been working on this song for 2 years.
I liked that. I mean, a part of the thing I like about the way work gets done now is to be able to do a mix that I could feel man, this is, got some pretty rough edges on it. I'm going to send this to them and just hear what their initial reactions are.
Yeah.
And there's no board you got to reset or anything like that. You can just send it off and then get an immediate, hey, why don't you try? And then you're okay, I have some direction.
Yeah.
And I would do that in ways to just go, what are you hearing? This is what I'm hearing through my speakers. This sounds workable to me. They have no idea that is, and you'd be surprised how many times you get back, or I would get back from people going, oh man, that sounds pretty good. I'm oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll continue working on it then, trying to find things wrong with it. But, it is a cool thing to ship something off and be that sounds good. I like it. I don't have to second guess it. I don't have to think about it anymore.
Well, and not being precious about stuff of if people have criticisms or things that they hear differently, just be okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Rather than no, it has to have saturation on the blah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
Do you gig this weekend?
Yeah, I'm playing at Tannehill's tomorrow.
Cool. Who's that with?
It's with a gentleman named Manny Trevino.
Oh, yeah.
And he has a handful of different tribute projects. And so it's one of his tribute projects.
Cool.
Yeah, and I've never played Tannehill, so that's a cool thing. I'm kind of excited.
You've
Everybody
been in there
says,
at all?
I've never been there. Everybody says it's a cool room and a fun gig. So I'm excited.
It is. It's cool. Very comfortable, just well thought out in this size room, this, nice big stage, good, good green
production.
room area. Yeah. Production's fantastic. And so it's there's no worries there.
I see how people, now that I've been able to play, been fortunate enough to play kind of some bigger rooms and bigger spaces in general, I see how people, and it's not necessarily, I used to think that it's oh, when will people get to a point where they're I expect these things because I am at a certain level, but you get so used to things just working, and being with good production and being in good big rooms, that it's man, you get so frustrated when you go to a place where those things don't work. Mm-hmm. And it's man, this thing should just work, that and you get so used to the machine running well that when it doesn't run, it can be so frustrating. And it's it's hard. I think it can be hard for people to not, to identify that and give people grace of this thing isn't working right, but maybe they're not a great engineer, or maybe this venue doesn't have a great budget or whatever. And to remember those things and not just be why aren't these monitors working? Mm-hmm. These should just work.
Yeah.
Because you get used to that.
You do. You get spoiled by it pretty easily. We're, yeah. And those things, I think what, in my mind anyway, is you start projecting out from this thing that's not working right. And I think a lot of times tends to be the person operating it, but you start projecting forward of how this is going to affect the performance. And, it just sort of kaleidoscopes out to where you're oh man, this is gonna, and then we're not so many things are going to go wrong, and this band will never play again. And
it's very easy to spiral in that direction.
Yeah, and I'll be homeless and
turn the electricity off.
Yeah, exactly. So back there. So yeah, it's like, it's always good to just be like, once we get that, at least, a spare tire put on, something that's workable. We will get through this, and then we'll move on to hopefully something better tomorrow, or we will make it. We will survive this. You know.
That's actually where, to tie it back into that, but that's where sobriety has helped that in like understanding control and understanding like, what do I have control over? What do I not have control over? And like, you don't have any control over how somebody is running a board. And like, if you try to have control over that, you're going to make their day bad, which is going to make your day worse. And so it's just kind of like, it's easier these days to like let certain things go and just be like, we'll just roll with it and just make it work, rather than try and like stranglehold every little aspect, even though like we want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when you're, in my case, like I'm probably the person who booked the thing. And so if there's a problem, a lot gets directed at me, and I'm like, I don't know.
Buck stops with Grady Dawn.
Yeah.
You need a sign for your desk.
Just to do man, I don't know, man. I'm sorry. It's just gonna suck for the next few hours, and we gotta deal with it. I wish I could fix it.
Yeah.
I'll do my best, but it's something we're all gonna have to deal with for the next little while. So hopefully the next one will be better.
Yeah. Generally, I've found that it's like, if you're having fun, like people are going to come on board and have fun with you, even if you're like, fighting a thing. If you can let it go and still have fun, like the crowd doesn't know that stuff's happening.
Yeah.
Unless the sound is really, really overtly bad or loud or hurts, they don't really know. They don't know that bass drum isn't EQ'd exactly perfectly.
Yeah.
We know, but that's not pulling them out of their experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And that'll be there's a thing too. Maybe someone's wife is there or something, and they're like, "Oh, the sound's bad," and they're like, you notice it, but I don't think everybody else is thinking about it in those ways, And
but if the band is having a blast and like having so much fun, it's like that stuff goes away. Like they kind of forget about that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a situation where like somebody has come up after a gig and been like, "Your snare sounded like shit."
Or it's like the sound sucked and you guys suck by proxy. It's like no one's ever. Yeah, it's like
the music's bad and you should feel bad. That's a quote from Dr. Zoidberg.
Okay, perfect, man. That's good. You're in my head. I've been revisiting. Dude, unless you got anything else you feel like hasn't been.
Uncovered. I think I have to like pitch these shows coming up. That's why we came out to talk, is that I was in that band Thrift Store Cowboys, and now that band has a little run of weekend dates playing out in the world again on the road. And
live and in person?
Live and in person. That hasn't happened in a really long time outside of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Or outside of Lubbock on like a Christmas show. We were doing these Christmas gigs for a while that were very, very well attended and fun. So yeah, we're going to go up and play a show in Colorado on the 22nd of this month. It's like a summer showcase series for a town up there, and somebody that I guess knows Dan and Jess and is trying to get us on board with that for a handful of years, and we just weren't able to do it. And this year we were able to do it, and all the cards came together in it. I had some time off from the road, and everybody was available, and we're like, man, let's just go do it. And they're like, well, if we're going to go do that one, well, let's maybe do one in Lubbock and then do whatever we can around there. It would be cool to do like a whole week of shows. I tried to get us, Brooks heard that this was happening, and he was like, why are you not playing at the Post? Like, you jerks, like, why are you not coming here? Yeah. And it's just, well, we just couldn't make it work. But
to be fair to him, you guys are jerks.
Yes, this is clear.
Shout out Brooks.
But then we're playing Turkey, Texas, a Hotel Turkey, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then we're playing the Blue Light on that Saturday. And it's going to be a good time.
That's all that week of like the 22nd. So hit these dates. The 22nd was in Colorado.
And the 24th will be Hotel Turkey, and 25th, I believe, is Lubbock.
Okay.
Lubbock at the Blue Light. And there's a handful of people seem to be pretty excited about it because this band hasn't done anything like that in a long time. And it's some of the original members from Lubbock. And then we're bringing this gentleman, Robert Richards, with us, who's playing guitar that was in the Tennessee band. And so him and Dan and Jess are flying in from Knoxville. And so it's going to be some folks that have never played together. So this melding of things, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And there's been a lot of talk about like arrangements and who's playing what and who's like how we're going to arrange these songs for this ensemble. So some pre-pro for this stuff, even though it's kind of going to be a throw together. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
It sounds like a blast, man. Anyone out there who might be interested in this kind of thing, do not miss it. Don't you dare miss it. And here's hoping this thing's got legs and can do a DFW show, or perhaps play at the Post and stop being such jerks.
I am trying really hard to make that happen. I think if these are successful, maybe we can come out and do that maybe in like the fall or the winter or something and do another Christmas show. That would also be a lot of fun.
Let's book it.
Why not?
All right, man.
I'll twist their arms.
Thanks so much, dude.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sweet.